So I've been asked to do a little series about some of the people that I've encountered on this crazy journey. I've been in two minds about doing this, and if it's something that you enjoy, then please put a note and so on, and we'll do more. It's all a bit of an experiment. We're going to call this series Zen Friends and Fellow Travelers. And I just want to sort of introduce you, if you like, to some of the sort of more extraordinary people that I've been privileged to meet and in many cases have helped me tremendously. So I wanted to talk a little bit about tea. When I lived and practiced in Japan, Zen Master Shinzan, our teacher, was always very fond of tea. He enjoyed making tea, and he enjoyed us all having tea together. And there was a kind of a fairly rough and simple and informal sort of temple-style tea ceremony that we'd quite often have with guests. But also there's a much more refined tea ceremony, and the tea master of our local area from the Urasenke school, which I think is the largest tea school in Japan, was a very grand lady called Hideko Ikawa Sensei. She'd started to study tea at age 11. She's the same age as Shinzen Roshi, so she'll be 85 now. And so she absolutely lived, breathed, embodied tea. And I was very fortunate to get the chance to study with her. So once a week I could go over and go through the process of learning tea. As I understand it, there are 12 levels in the Urasenke school, and I think she put me through the bottom 3 levels, which is very beginner stage really. So the thing about her was her teaching was very much about how she was, so much as more than what she said or what she indicated. She was very precise, very clear, but it was very much how it was done that she was really the vehicle for her teaching. And I feel very privileged to have spent some time with her, and also to have been able to introduce some of our other students to her. When we've been over in Japan, I take a group over every year, and some years we've been able to go over and do some tea with Ikawa Sensei, and people have been able to get to meet her. She's really quite an impressive person. Now the thing is, when I look around at her junior students, she's now in her 80s, people who might be in their 60s, 50s or something, I don't really see anybody that I can see sort of stepping into her shoes in the same way. It might be that they're being very low-key at the moment, or it might be that this is a dying sort of thing, that her generation took these arts on in ways which the younger generation haven't quite so much. I don't know. I hope that it carries on and continues to flourish. So the tea tradition has, for many, many centuries, had a strong link with Zen. The head of the Urasenke school, it's a hereditary leadership. The eldest son, who becomes the head of the school, spends, I think it's a couple of years at Daitokuji, training as an unsui, as a novice monk, as part of his preparation for being a tea master. And there's been this strong link. Now, if you're interested in tea culture, there's a beautiful Japanese movie called Rikyū, which very much sort of talks about the founder of tea, or the person who really brought the threads together. Sen no Rikyū, the grand tea master, and how he worked with the shogun of the time to try to bring some of that refinement, some of that harmony, that peace, that consideration for others into what was quite a barbaric, almost mafia-style situation at the time. Now, there's also a Chinese tea tradition, and I was very fortunate to get to spend a little bit of time on my way back from Japan in 2007 at, there's a Buddhist university in Beijing, and I got to study a little bit Chinese tea there and how they do that with some very impressive young Chinese Zen monks, many of whom were actually really pretty good at Japanese and had, in some cases, had studied in Japan. So now, with Ikawa Sensei, she was a very established tea teacher, been doing, decades of teaching. So she had a lot of students. The only time all her students gathered together was once a year. Okay? Other times they'd be studying different evenings of the week or weekends, different occasions when she'd be teaching. But the New Year tea ceremony was basically an expectation that every single person, all of her students, would all come together. And so this was quite a formal occasion and a lot went into it. So I was invited, along with Shinkai, a person that many of you will have known, a Zen monk, American, based over now in Oregon and teaching over there, and became a successor of Zen Master Shinzen a few years ago. So him and I, at this point, we were both living in Gyokuruji, practicing with Zen Master Shinzen, and we got permission to go to the New Year's tea ceremony. Now, the night before the tea ceremony, quite a heavy snowfall landed. It started in the morning, so we all got up and the temple was basically snowed in. Now, the dress code for the tea ceremony, for this formal occasion, was ladies formal kimonos, men Western suits. So Shinkai and I had to dig out whatever we could in terms of suits and shirts and all that. But the number one problem was we had to dig our way out of the temple, first of all, so that we could get out and into the closest town, probably about 8 miles from the temple, where the tea ceremony was going to happen. Basically, the formal tea ceremony was going to happen in Ikawa Sensei's tea chashitsu, her tea dojo, if you like. And then we were going to go by bus to the Gifu Grand Hotel, which is the local posh hotel, perhaps another 10 miles away. The hotel was going to send a bus. All the ladies and all of the tea students were going to travel in the bus to the Gifu Grand Hotel for a formal lunch and then the afternoon events. And then the bus was going to bring us back again to the tea center, to the chashitsu, to Ikawa Sensei's tea room. So Shinkai and I were fairly frantic, digging our way out to clear the way to get down so we could get into town. Then we were getting these suits on, trying to remember how to tie a tie, this whole thing, getting kitted up. It was pretty cold. Now, I had a wax jacket, a barber jacket, which over the summer had gotten moldy. The summers in Japan are really humid. Pretty much everything gets moldy if you're not careful. And I guess wax jackets are pretty prone to this. So it had been hanging out on a balcony for months to try and get the mold to kind of clear off. So I ran up, grabbed it on the way out and shoved it on. And as I did, all these, what looked like dead insects fell out of it. Now they're little sort of beans about the size of a large bean, these insects. They're called kamimushi, stink bugs. Looked like they'd all died, and they just fell out of it. And time was so tight, I didn't have time to sort of check the jacket over properly. I just gave it a little shake, and then we ran for it. So we got down into town, we got to the tea ceremony. Now, you probably got a sense that a formal kimono with all that silk is actually quite a warm garment. And so even though this was the middle of winter and a pretty cold day, all the windows were open in the tea room. Everything was pretty cold, but that was fine. And the tea ceremony was beautiful, just went very, very well. And it was a really lovely occasion, and Ikawa Sensei was clearly very happy with how it had all gone. Then the bus pulls up from the Gifu Grand Hotel, and so we all load up. Now, one of the things we're loading up is some of the ladies had brought kotos, which is kind of like a Japanese harp. It's long and flat. It's probably like the size of 2 coffee tables end to end. And so these kotos were laid along the sort of walkway in the middle of the bus. So myself and a couple of the other men sort of loaded these on for the ladies, and then we got on last. And then so off we set for maybe a 10-mile bus journey. Now, the tea room had been pretty cold, but the bus was pretty hot. You know how these buses get. And it was all sealed in. There were, it was sort of an air-conditioned, sealed thing. So probably, I don't know, 20 minutes into this journey, everybody had sort of warmed up quite a lot, including this jacket I was wearing, and suddenly, this swarm of kamimushi, this swarm of stink bugs had just woken up and flown out of my jacket and filled the bus. And all these ladies were, kamimushi, kamimushi, and trying to keep these stink bugs away from their precious kimonos, these really lovely posh kimonos. You know, they cost about as much as a small car, I gather, some of them. So anyway, and the bus was totally hermetically sealed. You couldn't even open a window to get these guys out. You know, they just filled the bus. And so it was, as you can imagine, it was mightily embarrassing and so on. So anyway, you know, another 15 minutes or something, we got to our destination. All the ladies scuttled off the bus, you know, brushing off these kamimushi that were everywhere. I managed to sort of shake off the coat a bit more, you know, at the other end, and just in case there were any others. So we go into the hotel and we have a lunch, and it's all very set. And unfortunately, I'm sitting right next to the tea master. And all through this rather formal lunch, the person next to me is tapping me on the shoulder and saying, one's crawling up your neck. One's coming out of your sleeve. These damn kamimushi were still appearing everywhere. It was one of the most embarrassing sort of times in my time in Japan, in which there was a fair bit of embarrassment here and there. You know, I was pretty clunky in a lot of situations. And unfortunately, from that day to this, in that particular tea circle, I'm the kamimushi guy, the guy who spread stink bugs all over the place at the beautiful New Year ceremony. Anyway, Ikawa Sensei, the tea master, was the epitome of grace and poise through all of it, as you could probably imagine.